Okay, so now we're moving on to district communications. We're going to start with the employee organizations. We'll start off with CSCA.
Good evening, Superintendent Burns, Board of Trustees. My name is Susan Chacon, and I'm the second VP of CSCA 547. Tonight, CSCA is here to support the teachers of SUHSD. Teachers play an extraordinary part in the lives of children for the formative years of their development, and the importance of teachers is something that cannot be understated. They involve themselves in molding their students into responsible citizens of the community. Without a doubt, they deserve the respect and gratitude from school board members for educating our students. They do not deserve blatant disrespect by board members. The latest outbreak of contempt toward the teachers of SUHSD by an individual trustee is unacceptable and offensive to our entire district. It is your responsibility to let the community know that you do not support such behavior. CSCA is here to support teachers by asking the board to vote yes on the censure. Your vote of yes says that you do not agree with such disrespectful conduct. Your vote of no means that you condone it. It was not too long ago that CSCA leadership was the victim of social media bullying by the same trustee that is now claiming she is the victim. CSCA headquarters wrote the superintendent a letter in reference to the trustee's interference with CSCA business. She received a copy of the letter and clearly stated for her to stay out of CSCA business. What did she do? The very next day on social media, she mocked the letter. By doing so, she disrespected the entire unit by making fun of the content of the letter on social media. We, the classified staff, are also a very integral part of student learning and deserve the same respect that this particular trustee is demanding. We cannot have double standards. You cannot say, I can be a bully, but nobody can bully me. It does not work that way. CSCA strongly encourages a yes vote to the censure. CSCA will not support any candidate for re-election that does not support the censure. We believe that it is your responsibility to tell the students that we serve that this sort of conduct is not acceptable to you. We stand by SVFT as the brothers and sisters they are to CSCA. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, district administration, good evening. First, I want to thank the board and the administration for allowing the Federation to continue our negotiated salary formula language unabated. The coming raise to our salary and benefits will aid our members with the financial struggles of living in a very expensive region, and will aid us as a district in attracting and retaining more teachers during a teacher shortage. I just want to also say thank you for letting us move to MCSIG. Anna and I were in a MCSIG meeting just earlier this afternoon, and pinch me, I'm not used to looking at positive financial records when it comes to healthcare, and I was able to do that for the first time in a long time, so it was a good feeling. So thank you for that. Regarding the censure of a board member tonight, the resolution is well written and simply addresses the behaviors exhibited during public meetings of the board. Nothing more, nothing less. The censure resolution is clear as it describes the inappropriate conduct, explains the rules that were broken, and gives a consequence, which in this case directs the board member to cease engaging in the inappropriate behavior. This is precisely how we discipline both staff and students when we need to, whenever a behavior that is inappropriate is exhibited. Please take note of the following. A no vote on this resolution tells fellow board members, staff, and students that the inappropriate behaviors described are okay for board members, present and future, staff, students. Where would that leave us? Think about that carefully, please. A yes vote to this resolution tells fellow board members, present and future, staff, and students that this behavior is not okay. And a yes vote means that we can continue to focus on our work, the reason that we are all here, the achievement of our students. No more distractions. Thank you and have a good evening.
Trustee Ramirez?
So before I heard of any censure, I'd already had a prepared statement because I had spoken with a board member and we talked and reflected on how the board meeting was run, or at least my part in it. And before any of the actions during the May 22nd board meeting occurred by me, I was interrupted during my board report and an anti-Semitic remark was directed to me. From that point on during the board meeting, I was truly shaken up and I was quite shocked by the comment and the inaction by the board. And as an elected official, I fully understand my role as a school board member and the conduct expected in performing my duties. Recently, and I've been a board member for 15 years, and this has only happened at one board meeting. And recently, my conduct during open session was not in line with the expectations I have for myself, nor those that are which expected from my constituents. My actions and my words also do not reflect other trustees that I serve with, nor will they ever. My words are my words. Thus, in reflection, I am accountable and apologetic for my recent actions, and I'm ready for us to move forward with returning focus to student learning in our district.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, good evening. I'm here as an individual at the moment, but at the May 22nd school board meeting, I and dozens of members and also members of CSEA were present, probably 30 of us, and there was an audio recording. And one thing's for certain, without a doubt, that Sunil Patel did not, emphatically, absolutely did not utter what he's being accused of by one of the board members. Period. The audio verifies it. I have it. I have witnesses, some of which are here behind me, and will vouch. He did not say that. What he in fact did say was, "We are not Hitler." And when called out by a board member, he repeated it. So I'm here to let you know that's not true. Do not be gaslighted, if you know what that means. Do not be gaslighted. Not true. I stand behind him. I have his back. And when we get back from summer, I'm sure the Federation Executive Board will too. Thank you.
Good evening, distinguished school board members, Superintendent Burns, fellow residents of Salinas, and Mrs. Ramirez. It's a pleasure to speak before you tonight. The actions you are going to take tonight to censor board member Kathryn Ramirez was far too long in coming. She has, throughout her career as a board member and a resident of our community, engaged in bullying, intimidating, manipulating behavior. I was able to sit here at a meeting and watch and hear what she had to say to the teachers union when they were on the agenda. Not very polite, very little leadership. You can't change the spot on the leopard. You can apologize, but you've been doing it all your life. She has constantly lied to deflect any type of personal responsibility for her actions, which are disgusting for a public elected official to engage in. Ms. Ramirez lacks of any type of meaningful character, brings no value to our community, nor this school board. Mrs. Ramirez's behavior is not transitory in the least. This is a continued pattern of unacceptable behavior that is reminiscent of Meredith Ibarra, the currently sitting and also former LSL board member that was recalled, and Jose Castaneda, who is currently sitting in Kern County State Prison. Many in this room know this has been ongoing for many years. But instead of dealing with the bully, Ms. Ramirez is, people look the other way. But now, since the bullying and inappropriate language have reached more employees, here the board stands to deal with Mrs. Ramirez's behavior through a public censure. When people show who they are, believe them the first time, I think this is Ramirez's 50-plus time. Mrs. Ramirez is attempting to besmirch the reputation of one of our local political leaders, Neil Patel. Mr. Patel's reputation, conduct, character, and ethics are exemplary. His demeanor unmatched. The accusation by Mrs. Ramirez that Mr. Patel yelled Heil Hitler at her in your last meeting is utterly absurd. I have listened to the audio recording of teachers chanting, "Teachers are not Hitler."
Sir, your 3 minutes are up.
Thank you all board members for listening, as you always do. Thank you for all the hard work that you do. Thank you for protecting the children. Thank you for showing the right way to live lives as mentors. My life has been a living hell for the last 2 weeks. An accusation by this board member, this board member of this school district, accusing me of saying something vile. And yet every teacher, every classified staff at the meeting knows it wasn't said. Even these board members know it wasn't said. I have dedicated my life to this district for 20 years. How many times, Mr. Burns, have I risked my life in preventing fights and got in the middle and then brought them to your office? How many times? I have served this district for 2 decades. I work with students. I take them out on various groups. I teach them right from wrong. I mentor. I've worked on some of your re-election campaigns because I believe in you. I love you because of the dedication you have. And yet, because of a false allegation, because a board member, rather than accepting blame for associating the word Hitler and teachers together, she chose to deflect and accuse a teacher of saying those vile words when the audio proves it's not true, when I have teachers here and classified staff that know it's not true. They were there. And this board member continues to harass me and put stuff on the internet. This is the district speaking. She is a board member. I have been harassed. I have been through the gutter. For what? For dedicating my life to serve this city? I work with the students to build Tatum's Garden. I work to feed the homeless in Salinas, Monterey County Food Bank. I work on weekends and dedicate my weekends to my students. And to sit here as an employee of this district and to have a board member, my superior, say such vile things, and not a single person from this district contacted me. Not a single one. I find it disgusting and reprehensible. What you have done by making false accusations, it's unacceptable. This is 2018. The fact that a person does wrong and doesn't accept responsibility, and rather than saying I'm sorry, they choose to blame others for their wrongs. We cannot live in this society this way. I thank the board members who were there, Ms. Martinez and Mr. DeBera, who walked out. Thank you.
Good evening, Superintendent, Associate Superintendent, board members, my fellow colleagues, and guests. My name is Carolyn Cleaves, and I am currently a health educator at Alice Sahlheim. I have been in attendance for the past several board meetings, sitting silently. I've received the email, read a recent blog, and watched the evening and today's news. I have a huge issue that's not being addressed regarding Trustee Ramirez's behavior. It's not new. Over a year ago, I was visited at the end of the day in my classroom, being told that Trustee Ramirez wanted to visit with an SBFT site rep. My classroom just happens to be the closest to the office. As soon as Trustee Ramirez arrived, the dialogue quickly started with her frustration over I on the board. It then went on to the SBFT officers. It continued with the current president at the time, Katie Bassler. I personally felt intimidated. I was very guarded in my responses back to Trustee Ramirez at that time. Later, within a few months, one of my colleagues was also visited at the end of the day. At that time, Trustee Ramirez wanted to vent, as in her words, she shared, the astronomical salary that we as teachers were getting, as we were still in negotiations for our contract. She then shared this information via social media. As a health educator, I am tasked with many educational duties, and one of them is to make sure that my students reach mastery in California education standards in this very textbook that is adopted by the board. In Chapter 6, in building healthy peers relationships, starting on page 169. I know, I'm sorry. I know.
You need to end. I'm so
I
sorry.
will. I teach my students to find their voice. I have found my voice. I ask you, as your board members, as superintendent, please find your voice
Thank you.
for elected official.
Thank you.
My name is Sarah Reitmeyer. I am a job steward and secretary of our chapter here at CSEA. Valerie could not be with us tonight. She's being held back in a mediation with another school district, so she's asked me to read what she's prepared. I am here tonight representing the California School Employees Association, and we are standing in solidarity with the Salinas Valley Federation of Teachers and all employees of the district. The censure resolution before the board tonight is not about one elected official's behavior, but about the perception that the board condones such behavior. Bullying should never be tolerated by anyone at any level, but especially not in a school district. Trustees must each stand as a role model for the entire district and the community. Yes, you must be held to a higher standard. CSEA members have been repeatedly bullied by this trustee. During visits to school sites, she has confronted CSEA members, and those members have felt threatened and intimidated. We have reported those incidents to the district's Human Resource Office, but of course, staff has no authority over a trustee. This trustee has interfered in CSEA's internal election of officers during December 2017. She posted on Facebook her support for a candidate and publicly bashed another. CSEA's legal department put the district on notice that her actions constituted interference according to the Public Employee Relations Board. Again, staff has no authority over a trustee. So tonight, we are looking to each of you trustees for acknowledgement that bullying will not be tolerated by anyone associated with this district. It will not be tolerated by staff or by students, and most importantly, bullying will not be tolerated by a trustee. We ask you to make a decisive move tonight and signal to the community that you do not condone, nor will you tolerate bullying by a fellow trustee. Thank you.
In 1947, my parents moved out from a strange country to California. They came from Texas. And I just spent 5 days down there chasing through old cemeteries and such. I just wanted to report to the board this evening that things over at the school project look like they're going well. I have had no derogatory reports in quite a while. We're working as hard as we can with the contractors to assure that all the manpower needs are met and that qualified help is there. But what I really want you to know is that we're working with the schools, the high schools. Next week, I'm going to be taking 2 students up to the Carpenter's Apprenticeship Training Center in Morgan Hill and hopefully getting them enrolled in a program. We're looking to do that more and more with the district, with the graduates of this district. And next year, we're hoping to put together a program over at Alice L. High School just for a day as just a construction fair. Job fairs are held frequently throughout the area, but we don't want to get into competition with the Jaws of Life and other things. We want the students that are interested in construction to basically focus on what construction has to offer at this time. So anyway, I'm going to leave you this evening. My 5 days, I'm all worn out, so Superintendent Burns, I'm going to warn you, is don't go on vacation because everything piles up and you get all kinds of strange contacts while you're out unless you leave your phone at home. So anyway, we hope to continue to work together with you, do as much as we can for the district and for the students within the district to create opportunities for them to be beneficial members of this community in the future.
Good evening. My name is Dominic Dursa. I'm here today, first because I'm a friend of Mr. Patel over there, but secondly, because like Ron, I got a little story. You know, I grew up in this area, about 4 blocks that way, and when I left here, I didn't want to come back. See, I loved politics. I grew up in it. You know, I remember hanging out in Jesse Sanchez's office. You know, my mom was part of one SCIU, my dad was part of the other, and they had lovable wars throughout the 90s. And I got tired of it. I said, why am I going to get involved in this mess? See, I remember the fight for district elections, but more importantly, I remember the war that happened after. And I said, I'm never going to come back to this. Well, sooner or later, here I am, and I did come back. Because I had to, my mom got older. But the thing is, in case you haven't noticed, there's not many people who have. To be blunt, you guys are old. I'm getting old myself. The people who should have been getting involved, these days are what turn them off. Today's going to have no winners. Mr. Patel will never be able to let this go. Some people may forget about it, but Google's going to remind them. We all know what a great man he is, but these days leave us with no winners. At some point, we gotta learn to get along. But more importantly, at some point, we have to realize you could have put a camera in. How many times have we had to argue over this person said this, or this person said that, because everybody has their phone on and is worried about recording who said what? At some point, you just need to put a camera in, because this is how reputations get destroyed. This is how we're going to have the news here today talking about this situation and not the fact that a student just got $500,000 in scholarships. This is a time when we need to talk about teachers cannot afford housing. This is a time when we got to talk about students cannot learn because their house is too overcrowded. This is not when Felix Cortez needs to show up and say, who said sorry for this or sorry for that? You needed a camera. You knew you needed a camera. I don't care if it's a GoFundMe or Slip West $20, but at some point, and I do want to say this nice thing about Mr. Patel. 2 years ago, I ran for an assembly delegate spot to the State Democratic Party. And believe it or not, Mr. Patel, I offered the spot to him because I felt he was more worthy. But he said no. He said, we need younger people. That's the kind of man he is. He recognizes the need not only for older people to do good, but to find those younger, to encourage them, to motivate them, to put them in a position to succeed. Get a camera.
Good evening, President Padilla, fellow board members, fellow members of the community. My name is Amit Pandya. God gave us a gift of communication and speech after we're born. When we're in a leadership position, the things we do, words we say, and connotations attached to those words then become magnified. When you are a board member and you're dumping on a fellow teacher who is an employee of yours through nothing but lies and false accusations, this is not leadership. When you march into city council meetings, rant and rave at a city councilwoman saying the only reason you're up there is because I didn't run this time, so you better do what I ask you to do. That isn't open communication. That's bullying. When someone does not learn from their behavior and continues to exhibit this kind of behavior over and over and over again, that is a character flaw. When you're in charge of hundreds and thousands of students and their futures and education, and your top leadership is a bully who makes up things and lies just to tarnish the reputation of someone, a good close family friend of mine who I have known for years. Guy has a fire burning in his heart to teach and work with kids. He gave up a $2 million motel business because he says, I no longer enjoy money. I want to go help kids. And then he sat there and looked around and said, what school is the one that is in the most need? And he picked that school. This is the guy. And this is the guy you want to destroy by falsities, bullying, and lies. Ms. Ramirez, shame on you.
Good evening, board members. My name is B. Gonzalez Ramirez. I am not a resident of this community. I'm a friend of some board members. I know some of you rather well, some of you just by name or reputation. But as a former board member who was up for censorship, I can tell you this is a freaking humiliating experience. And you all have had training through CSPA, through NALEO, through PICALEO. You guys know how to deal with conflict and conflict resolution, and shame on you for letting this far. I agree with that gentleman. There should have been a camera in here a long time ago. It should have been audio recorded and then verified whatever was said can be proved. Whether Mr. Patel said it or not, you would have the evidence. But shame on you for allowing it to get this big, this ugly. I sat here from 6:30 to 7 o'clock and I just listened to the talk and the conversation. You have polluted this room by not having active leadership. I love the way, Patty, that you pointed to the norms and you told everybody, pay attention to these rules. This is the way we're going to operate. You should have been doing that from the very beginning because it is disgusting how this got this big. And where the truth lies, I don't know. But I'm a friend of all of yours and I see this. And I drove all the way from Hollister just to tell you, I'm disappointed. Shame on you. You guys can do better. I don't know how you're going to be able to mend the bridges that you have broken with the community. I don't know how, but you guys have a big task ahead of you. I ask you just one question. Think, what prompted you to run for office? What was that noble cause that you wanted to put forward? Think about that, and I ask you to carry yourself in that light for the rest of your term. And if you don't think you can do it, then don't run for re-election. Don't represent the community when you can't put your whole heart in it and do it effectively and keep the politics aside. Sometimes when you're on the board, there's disagreements. We take them personal, we take them home, we put them on Facebook, they get put up on the news. We gotta be better leaders than that. I just say, just think about it. What motivated you to get involved in politics in the first place? Keep that in your heart, keep that in your mind, and try to strive for better, okay? Thank you.
At this time, we're moving on to action items. And before I move into action items, I just want to share a couple of things. Today's action item was not done in malintent. Trustee Ramirez has had a positive voting record. As a single mom, she earned her master's degree. I supported Trustee Ramirez for board president when CSEA didn't. I do not support the recall against Trustee Ramirez. I repeat, I do not support the recall against Trustee Ramirez. However, due to her unacceptable behavior up to yesterday on a blog, I stand here today as a proud Latina. I stand here today for all the employees of the Salinas Union High School District that have been intimidated, bullied, and harassed, and have been silent in fear of retaliation by Trustee Ramirez. Before the Board of Trustees of the Salinas Union High School District, resolution to censure Trustee Kathryn Ramirez, resolution number 18-82. Before I move forward, I have a motion. I have a comment. Trustee Tavera.
Move to adopt.
I haven't even read it yet. Trustee Rubio.
What's the process?
I was going to read the resolution.
Okay, go ahead and read it, but I can have.
So, hold on a second.
I'm going to read the resolution, then we'll take a motion, a second, and then we can make comments. The Board of Trustees of the Salinas Union High School District hereby issues this public censure expressing disapproval of Trustee Kathryn Ramirez's violation of board policies, regulations, and bylaws as follows. Whereas Board Bylaw 9000 states that the Board of Trustees elected by the community to provide leadership and citizen oversight of the district schools, and further states that the Board shall ensure that the district is responsive to the value, beliefs, and priorities of the community. And whereas Board Regulation 9000 lists as among the duties of the boards, hear communications, written or oral, from citizens or organizations on matters of administration or policy, and whereas Board Bylaw 9000 provides in part to maximize board effectiveness and public confidence in district governance, board members are expected to govern responsibly and hold themselves and the superintendent to the highest standards of ethical conduct, and requires each board member to, number 4, act with dignity and understand the implications of demeanor and behavior. And whereas the Board Bylaw 9005 requires the board, number 3, govern in a dignified and professional manner, treating everyone with civility and respect. And whereas the board is deeply committed to operating effectively in order to provide governance and leadership that models ethical and civil behavior for students and members of the public. And whereas the board has openly and properly committed itself to upholding board policies, administrative regulations, and bylaws, providing for open, honest, and respectful communication, and adhering to state laws and policies governing the board's actions and behaviors. And whereas December 7th, 2015, Trustee Ramirez took an oath to faithfully discharge the duties of a board member consistent with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution and laws of the state of California, and the policies, regulations, and bylaws of the district. And whereas the board has, at the district's expense, participated in trainings regarding effective and responsible governance and received advice from legal counsel regarding the same. And whereas on April 24th, 2018, Trustee Ramirez, at an open public meeting of the board, said that the Salinas Valley Federation of Teachers newsletter called I Am the Board was similar to Hitler's attack on the Jews because of its past criticism of Trustee Ramirez. And whereas members of the community and of this board, as well as the publishers of the I Am the Board, took great offense at Trustee Ramirez's comments, since the publishers were merely exercising their right to free speech and had not published derogatory statements regarding race, religion, or ethnicity. And whereas at a board meeting held on May 22nd, 2018, Trustee Ramirez from the board dais videotaped speakers as they were addressing the board on agenda items and spoke over the speakers as she was videotaping them. And whereas the action of Trustee Ramirez in videotaping speakers at the board meeting from the dais was rude, disrespectful, and may have had a chilling effect on the speakers and may have discouraged other speakers from addressing the board. And whereas Trustee Ramirez's behavior towards the public exceeded her role and influence as a board member. And whereas Trustee Ramirez's rude and disrespectful behavior, language, and conduct toward district employees and the public failed to meet the professional standards for an elected representative over the minimum standards expected of any district employee or trustee, and violated district policies and board bylaws. Whereas censure by a public body is a collective judgment of stern condemnation of its own member for behaviors or actions that violate laws or policies, it is also a formal public act of disapproval of a member's unacceptable conduct. Now therefore, now it be resolved that the board does hereby censure, disavow, and formally express its disapproval of Trustee Ramirez's conduct described above. Be it further resolved that the board does hereby direct Trustee Ramirez to comply with the state law, board policy, regulations, and bylaws, and cease and desist from engaging in rude and disrespectful treatment of district employees and the members of the public. At this time, I entertain a motion. Trustee Tabera, do I have a second? Trustee Martinez, do I have comments?
I actually have a comment for you too. So I don't know if you all have it up there, but on page 2, the paragraph that starts, let me get to page 2, whereas on April 24th, 2018, at the bottom it says, was similar to Hitler's attack on the Jews, is not an accurate statement. The accurate statement is Hitler making fun of the Jews. So if you're going to take any action, it has to be an amendment to the resolution prior to taking action.
So can you repeat that, please?
So page 2, whereas on April 24th, 2018, after it says, I on the board was similar, it should read, to Hitler making fun of the Jews.
So right now it says was similar to Hitler's attack on
Correct.
the Jews.
Right, so the wording is inaccurate there, so if you're going to take action, you have to correct that.
So can we make the correction except as amended? I mean with the correction?
You have to,
Can I move to make the corrections as suggested or as amended?
So at this time, we will make the changes. So can we go over it one more time? So I on the board was similar to
Hitler making fun of the Jews.
making fun of the Jews.
So I amend my motion to reflect that.
Do I have a second with the amendment?
Second.
Trustee Martinez, do I have any comments?
I do.
Trustee Ocampo?
I'm sorry I had to be the first one on the board to speak. But I just need to express my feelings and concern. As an elected official, we become responsible to represent our district with 100% interest in our community, respecting each other's as citizens, as parents, as teachers. As an elected official, we promise to work together for the better of our district and our community. As an elected official, we are human beings as well. And we all make mistakes. It's very sad to see that tonight we're being divided. You know, as a board members, a board trustees, and as community. I know for the fact that there's very resentment and hurt feelings about being disrespectful to you teachers when you are our employees. It really bothers me as an elected official that we give you the wrong impression of what we do. We owe you, the community, our positions. You select us to represent your interests. I know the opposition as well as the board tonight, and you are all my friends. And I thank you for addressing the board with your concerns. But what it got me confused, and before I say that, I would like to apologize to you all as the board for what would happen in 2015 and so on and so on and so on. With that in mind, tonight, after hearing your presentation of some of you employees of our district, it makes me wonder which way are we going as a district. We're going through negotiations right now, through salaries increase and benefits. No, we already. Okay, no. We're building Rancho San Juan High School. We're gonna pass another bond. And what I'd like to say is that it's very hard. It's very hard what you put the board and to come and call us to be ashamed of our positions, to be ashamed of not doing our jobs, to be ashamed of letting this go and go and go and go. Yes, we should be ashamed of it. But you know what? We might be the board, but we're all here to learn from masters in governance how to become a better board member. And we are going into training sections right now, for those of you that you're not aware. And the reason has been precisely because the lack of communication among the board, the lack of a discussion among the board. So we do have our own internal problems. But thanks be to God that having a good administrators on board, we have come together and working together as a family. On the other hand, I do feel that you need an answer tonight from the board. But that answer has to be something that you all want to get from the board, which is go through the censorship at Trustee Ramirez. I might be right, I might be wrong. I've known Trustee Ramirez for almost 17 years. We worked together, Phil Ramirez and I, in the past. We had problems.
Don't include me in what you say.
But we have resolved our indifferences. And we came along. I guess my whole idea is to let you know that this document tonight is a very sensitive, delicate issue to discuss only, in an hour or 2 hours? I would like to request a permission to agendize it for further discussion. And put it in the agenda and probably bring it back within a week. And the reason that I'm asking is because with all that is said here tonight about threats and not threats, if you don't support us, I'm going to come after you. If you don't do this, we're going to come after you. I mean, I feel like I've been threatened tonight if I don't give you what you guys want. Okay? And it is disrespectful to come to demand, something that we had committed a mistake and we have to pay for it. But, if it has to be done on a timely manner, this censorship I will request it to bring it back and discuss about it. Tonight, I feel so much anger, on the board meeting. I feel so much disrespectful and so much bad karma that you guys want us to be perfect and we are not perfect. We are human beings. We make mistakes. If it goes through tonight, because probably it's not gonna be supported. But I'm making the request, Madam Chair. If it doesn't go through tonight, I will not either vote in favor or vote against it. That is my decision.
Thank you, Trustee Ocampo. Trustee Rubio?
Well, first of all, I was trying to convince myself just not to show up today. I gotta tell you, I just didn't want to be here. I didn't come to this job to do this today, to anybody sitting out in the public, anybody sitting here on this board at all. It's just something I don't want to do at all. I just don't know. And so I just prepared just a few words here, so I don't just talk aimlessly here like I can. But I want to thank all the persons that are here, that are attending, and for Mr. Patel in the back, I'm sorry for the grief you've received or whatever has happened to you here. I mean that sincerely. This is the first time I heard about it, and the first time I heard a lot about this stuff. Not all of it. I've heard a lot of anecdotal stuff that has happened. I see a lot of people that I truly respect here. There's people from the bargaining units. There's people from other boards. There's people. Everybody is here from the different parts of our community. And my work here at the district was just to help students. By extension, all the employees. By extension, the teachers, the non-certificated staff, the management, and educating our community about all the positive things that go on every single day. And I've said this repeatedly on record that we just don't give enough credit to every single employee that's doing stuff for our kids that are going into this world. And they are the last step, the last school they're going to attend. They might go to college, they may go into the workforce, but you are the last face they're going to see before entering the work world. And I'm proud of everybody that's here. I'm proud of everything that the district does. I want everybody to make sure, this is a little repetition on some of the things that people said, but words matter. Words can be very helpful, constructive. They can also be very, very, caustic. I guess the only other word. They can injure you, right? The way people treat you. And I recognize that, and I recognize that in myself, to see what I say, for some of you have been married, some that haven't, but, for me it's almost 36 years, and the give and take of every single day is work. It's work every single day. On the same note, I just want to make sure that everybody's clear about this, that, in order to have conflict, you're going to need two people, two organizations, two different points of view. And, the engagement can be positive, can be negative. It can be both ways. I seek always the positive in everything. I think what you said about not being perfect is so accurate. You try and listen, you try and take the positive. People come to me and ask me, about or comment about something going on at the school that maybe needs to be repaired or adjusted. And I usually tell them, write it out. Sit down and just write it out. Write it out and give me some solutions. All of you are subject matter experts in your fields, in what you do, whether you're on the intake for the kids, attendance office, you're teaching math, history, whatever it is that you're doing. You're the subject matter experts. I'm not. In collaboration here with everybody here, we try and get the best out of every dollar that we get from the state and your day, your time, which you can't buy back. I can always get more money, but you can't get back your time. So we try and do that. The other thing I want to talk about is that, this is personal here, and like everybody else here, I have the First Amendment right. I have the First Amendment right to type whatever I want to type, to put on blogs whatever I want to do any of those things. But I don't have the right to just lob, stuff at people, right? Be fair, we had that issue with the media a while ago, and we met with your general manager over there, and I'm looking at Mr. Cortez there. We met with him. I reached out to him because some of the stuff that was said was, well, I don't know, not all that accurate. But rather than sit and lob stuff at him or at the organization, I felt it was just more important to engage him, get him out there, and show him the complexity of what we were doing out there. Because it's so easy just to talk, so easy. It's the easiest thing in the world. So as I said, you've got the First Amendment, but I want to make sure that that when you make that, when you're going to press that keystroke, when you're going to press the send button, when you're going to put enter, into your computer, think about how it's going to affect the people on the other end. Just think about it for a minute. Have a little empathy. Just a little empathy. I heard Trustee Ramirez, words today, and to me they matter. They matter. They're important. And what I'm asking people to do today is basically this. Take your foot off the accelerator. Take it off and think about why you're here. Think about the fact that we're here for the students. This to me, you have no idea how much time I spent. I got up at 4 this morning. I couldn't sleep because I was thinking about today, just coming here today and having to face all of you here. And think about, like you said, having to choose one way or another. One of the parties here has already made an apology. Now, whether you think that's sincere or not, I'm sorry, it was said. I can't account for all the other stuff that's happened, all the stories that everybody have brought up here. I'm hoping that if there isn't any reconciliation, at the very least, this to me, this is open warfare right here, and it's not good. That it doesn't continue. I'm hoping that Trustee Ramirez is seeing what has been said here out in the open, which is it's always been behind one-on-one, by a little phone call, by a little snippet and stuff. It's all out here. It's out. It's out. I hope she recognizes what has been said today. I hope that the superintendent can work with her, as well as the groups that have been injured by all this, and go forward. That's it. We're managing taxpayer money, and you can't take back today. It's going to be gone tomorrow. And so I just personally, I got to move forward. I got to move forward with this. I'll deal with the consequences of whatever happens, but and I'm hoping it ends on your end. I hope it ends on whoever got injured here, and I'm hoping we just move forward. And that's all that I have to say.
Thank you, Trustee Rubio. I simply want to say that, you have a comment? Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Khan.
First of all, most of you know that I'm not running for office again. This is an example of why not. The policy. There is too much politics on this board, and after 13 years, I've had it. I have enough problems as it is, and most of you know I have a sister very ill that has Alzheimer's. And I'm sorry, Mr. Patel, I have been out of town, I just got back. Yesterday I received a blog that really disturbed me because it was so full of untruths. And it disappoints me that those things were said. So I know that Ms. Ramirez has apologized, and I would like to believe that she means her apology. But the only way we know that we have control of this as a board is to censure. That's all I have to say.
It is a difficult situation, and it is very sensitive. This is not something that we want to do, because we're supposed to be a team. We're supposed to work together. We talked about we're one body with 7 heads. But unfortunately, I feel that I really want to work, and I think we do need more trainings, and we've had some. Unfortunately, the day after, it's like if we didn't even have the training. So me personally, Trustee Ramirez, if you really sincerely feel that you apologize for what you've said, and you feel that this is something that has made a difference in your life and you can make some changes, I'm willing to work together with you. I think that this is a very difficult situation. I just want it to be that we can work together and we can publicly say that, because this is something to show, because we look at how much time it took us to work on this, and I haven't even done the business of a board meeting. We have deferred ourselves from student achievement, from student learning to work on this. I've got the emails, phone calls, texts from so many people that know you and have said, they gave me the confidence to be here today and say, Patty, will you be the voice for us, because we're intimidated, we're scared, we have retaliation, we don't know how to tell her that she hurts our feelings. And so I'm here to say, I want to work with you, but it has a lot to do within yourself if you want to work, because one day you'll talk to me and then for 2 months you won't. You'll be upset if there's any little thing. And we need to move forward. And if you're willing to do that, I think that's what we need to do. And I think the students deserve that of this district. Not the people, the students of the district. That's what they need. And so we are the role models for the students, and we're not being good role models. Look at what we're doing here. This is not right. And so at this point, to me, this is just saying that we're asking you to not participate in that behavior. That's all that this is saying. We're just asking you not to cease and desist from continuing to be rude and disrespectful to people, not go around saying, I'm an elected official, I could do this, this, and that. Not doing that. We're all the same. And I want to move forward too, but I still support the censure, because I'm really hoping that this will make a difference in us as a school board. Trustee Martinez.
I'll go. That was really well said, very well said. And I will tell you that when all this happened at Salinas High School, I did say up to my piece. I don't think it was clear. I don't think it was very clear, but I think people got the point that I didn't agree with that kind of behavior. But the following week, just so you'll know, I had asked, Trustee Padilla, our president, for a special board meeting so that we as a board could collectively discuss our position to develop a disclaimer. Because, I don't agree with that. I did not agree with that then, and I don't agree with it now. Well, I've learned I've had a lot of experience in this town, straight up. If somebody uses the excuse or the argument that this is about Latinos or this or that, hey, you know what? I don't think so. And don't use our people like that. We have enough problems as it is. And I have learned that silence means agreement. If you don't say something, that means it's okay. It's okay. And you know what? When we have students that act up in the classroom, we either suspend them or expel them. I mean, there's certain behaviors that we expect out of our young people. And to me, when they act up in class, whatever, I believe that that's a manifestation of something that's going on at their home. Because we have a lot of kids that are living in poverty, extreme poverty. They may admit it or look like it, but they do. We have a lot of kids that are homeless. And if I were to treat somebody else differently than I would treat a student, to me is not right. I believe that it's out there. it's out there, everybody knows. And I had asked for a disclaimer, I had asked for a special board meeting, didn't get that, but you know what I said? I thought about this, I had thought about this in the past, and I did some research into what it meant to censure somebody, and basically it's a, don't do it again. And I know that there's another process after this, in case that does not happen, that we can go through. This has been going on for a long time. A long time. Our classified employees came in with a folder, a thick folder of incidents that had occurred. Our teachers had incidents that they were talking about. As a board, we are responsible for this entire district. We are responsible for our students becoming educated. Like I always say, and people might get tired of me saying it, but darn it, when I see a family walking on the street with those kids, I know those kids are going to be in our school sooner or later, and we have to give them the best that we can give them, no matter who they are. Well, I thought about this. I go, we need to develop some language for a censorship, and it has to be very clear and very concise. And I believe, I've read this thing several times. I mean, I couldn't sleep last night. Like Carlos said, I couldn't sleep. It bothered me because sometimes in some of these meetings I can't sleep because I'm bothered, and I should not be bothered. To me, that's a very unhealthy situation to be around because we should be happy. We should be working together. We should be doing things. Well, that being said, I support this censorship. And to me, the way I look at this, it became Philip's problem. It became Philip's fault too, because Philip was brought into that blog. And so was our president. And I'm sorry, Mr. Patel, I'm sorry, because I know how you are with our kids at LSL. I know how you are. That should not have happened. But it did. And it's happened, and we have let it go. We need to do something. Period. So I totally support this idea. And let's see what happens, because you know what? If it don't change, it's our responsibility to do something. Because in our community, in our Mexican American community, our Mexicano community, you look to leaders, you can respect leaders for their word, you can respect them for the way that they treat other people. They treat people the way that they want to be treated. You can rely on them. And if I can't rely on these people, you know what I'm saying? So that's all I want to say for now.
I'd just like to start off by speaking to Mr. Patel and just telling you how grieved my heart is for all the wrongdoing that's been done to you. And for that, I'm very sorry. Words do matter. You can't take them back. It hurts and it penetrates your soul. So much to where you can't sleep at night. Or you can't live with yourself. But nevertheless, everybody deserves forgiveness. Tonight, it sounds like our board is very divided. But if one thing you've heard is that we're united in that we want to move on. We're united in that we support you. We're united in that we are here for our students. And although it doesn't sound like it, it doesn't feel like it, I know that you are too. We make mistakes, much like our students. The only difference is we're held to higher standards by those that have selected us to be here, which is our community, our constituents, our bargaining units, because some of you live in our areas. When our students are expelled and they want to come back, they have to come back with certain things that are done, like counseling. They have to take counseling. We refer them for counseling to help them with whatever's manifested their behavior. We ask them to do community service to help them get through and give back for the wrongdoing they've done. And they write a letter of apology. to whomever they've hurt. And I stand with all of you today. It's very important that you know that. But I know better than any of you because I received something before you all here tonight. And that was a sincere apology from Trustee Ramirez. And I didn't share that. I waited. That's something she doesn't do. If all you are here and you know her, she doesn't do that. But she did. And in order for this to end and for us to move on, we need to forgive her. And she needs to forgive herself for the wrongdoing that she's done and hold herself accountable and do whatever it takes to fix herself from doing those things. I believed her apology and what she said. I'm hoping that after tonight we can move on to work together for the reason that you all put us here. Our students, our children. That's really what this is about, is holding the same level of accountability we hold our students, we have to hold ourselves. So I'm in agreement with this. I'm in agreement because it needs to stop. It needs to stop, and it's going to stop tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Ramirez, do you want to say anything? Do you want to say anything else? No. Okay, at this time I have a motion, and I have
With the modification.
with the change, and I have a second. And now it's time to vote.
How about members?
I cannot take it.
No, well, I'm
You
just
can't-
figured under
no.
this particular
At this
item.
time, I will just address, you cannot talk from there to us. This is our meeting.
I can't actually, but.
No, you cannot.
They let
So
everybody.
at this time, I will call for the vote. And I will ask that who is in favor of approving the censorship with the changes and also by everybody's comments. It looks like one thing that we all agree on is that we all want to move forward. So I would start with Trustee Can. Can, how do you vote? Trustee Rubio?
I'm going to abstain.
Trustee Ocampo?
As I said it before, my apologies goes to all the teachers that have been hurt, especially Mr. Patel, whom I've known for many, many years, and the rest of the teachers as well, and the classified union. I would like to see, instead of making a decision tonight, to initiate something like a warning. You messed up with our district as a trustee, and we will give you a first warning, second warning, and then you're out automatically. And we will do the decision ourselves.
We cannot have
I'm sorry.
an elected official.
I just
be
wanted
there.
to express my opinion.
Okay, that's
So
fine.
therefore, I'm abstaining from voting.
You're abstaining?
Yes.
Trustee Tabera?
Yes.
Trustee Martinez?
Yes.
Trustee Ramirez?
No.
And I vote yes.
So let me recap. You have 4 yes votes, 2 abstentions, and 1 no. So the motion passes.